Towers and building number 7. If I may ask y'all, the audience today, can I have a show of hands? How many of you are familiar with this information already? Okay, and a show of hands, how many people are not familiar with any of this information? Okay, well, there's a couple, so you're definitely gonna have some good time here. There's so much information to learn. The thing is, if you look at international news and international media, there is a lot of coverage of this topic. But when you come abroad home in the USA, you find no coverage of this information, this evidence that the architects and engineers have actually uncovered. So when the Architects and Engineers Organization had a big press conference in San Francisco a couple weeks back, they encouraged cities all across the USA to have similar press conferences. And it is a couple weeks later, but this is our press conference for the Texas Architects and Engineers to announce this milestone of over now 1,100 architects and engineers that have signed the petition. So the numbers are growing. This movement is gaining speed, it's gaining momentum, and it's growing stronger each and every day. And as we continue on, we're going to find, you shouldn't be surprised if we do actually get a new investigation. If you look at the work of NYC CAN in New York City with over 80,000 petition signers in just New York City alone. And now you look what they're doing in New Hampshire with over 12 cities trying very hard to get a new investigation on the ballot. So I really want to encourage you all to know and picture that it is a reality that we are eventually going to get a new investigation. And it's thanks to the work of the architects and engineers who are really paving the way when it comes to this investigation. So I want to thank y'all for coming out. It's going to be a great day. We've got great speakers, we've got great videos, and of course we've got a great audience, you guys. So I just want to ask you to give a round of applause for all of you here today. And I'm sorry I didn't introduce myself. I am Matthew Medina with We Are Change San Antonio. We Are Change is a grassroots organization that information, education, and events. So that's who I am. And I want to introduce our next guest, who's actually done so much for this pursuit of truth, this pursuit of knowledge and justice, that it's something strong in American roots to have justice. And unfortunately, with the 9/11 first responders, we couldn't even get them medical care. We couldn't serve them justice. It's taken over 9 years now for them to even get an offer. So our next guest is someone who's actually speaking about 9/11 before 9/11. He's had the evidence, he's had the documents, and it's now with architects and engineers we see that the evidence is legit, peer-reviewed journals, peer-reviewed studies. But our next guest was exposing with the evidence 9/11 before 9/11. Our next guest is a filmmaker, investigative journalist, researcher, producer, international broadcast radio show host, and if I can call him, I think he's the Obi-Wan Kenobi of the InfoWars, Mr. Alex Emrich Jones.
Well, I was excited when they invited me down here last week, and it's just wonderful to know that in 50 states across the United States, people are meeting together and having this public event, this press conference of the alternative media at 9/11 Truth to challenge the official fable, the conspiracy theory that is the 9/11 attacks of 8.5 years ago. And the good news is that despite the fact that the mainstream media almost entirely has been ignoring architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth, the information just continues to gain ground and radically expand every single day, because it was a French philosopher once said that no army can stop an idea whose time has come. And we now see the mainstream media more than ever, not just trying to ignore what we actually have to say, but demonizing us. In the last 8 years of 9/11 Truth, we see the most expansive attacks and demonization campaigns in our history going on now, because we're a danger to the system. It was Mahatma Gandhi that said that first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they attack you, then you win. And we're really entering that phase where they've tried to ignore us, then they tried to laugh at us, now they're attacking us, and we are winning. The problem, the only problem with 9/11 Truth is we have so much evidence, so many facts, so much proof that the official story is a lie from one end to the other. I mean, just this week, I could get up here for 30 minutes and speak about the fact that the ACLU got the White House memorandum released from Dick Cheney, the real president at the time, to the 9/11 Commission, which Bush appointed, was never independent, telling them, you will not investigate 9/11. You will not look at the attacks. You will just basically be a propaganda arm to promote national ID cards, naked body scanners, Northcom, and Homeland Security federalizing this country. Now, we had seen some of the 9/11 commissioners in years past say that they were not allowed to look at the attacks when they were asked by family members and others. And we've also seen 6 of the 10 and the Washington Post and other publications say that it was a complete cover-up. We've seen John Farmer, one of the chief counsels, one of the lawyers, in a new book that's out, saying that there was a criminal cover-up by the Pentagon. And so that's enough right there to force a new investigation. That's enough information right there to demand a new investigation. But the problem is the government itself is controlled by the very same shadow government, the coup we've had in this country, by the Central Intelligence Agency and others that Ron Paul just a few months ago talked about. He said there's been a coup in America. Really since the time of Kennedy, the people haven't run this nation. And so 9/11 Truth is more than just 9/11 Truth. It's just the truth. It's the end of innocence. It's people starting to really question, starting to really investigate, starting to become as informed about geopolitical activities, about what the Pentagon's doing, about what the war machine is doing, that Eisenhower warned us about in his farewell address, as they are informed about baseball or football or what their favorite Hollywood stars are doing. But I go back to the fact that for several weeks there's been a press release out about this event. It's going to be running for the next 8 hours today, ending with Dr. Bob Bowman breaking down the facts of 9/11. But when you have 1,000 architects and engineers come out, they had press conferences a few weeks ago, it made the foreign press, it didn't make the Washington Times, but it didn't get 1/100th the attention it should have, and that's because the system is deathly afraid of this information, because this information is the truth. And I know there is some mainstream media here and quite a bit of alternative media. I just wanted to start off by making the point that the reason we see the mainstream media literally going bankrupt and newspapers shutting down everywhere and even cable news ratings dropping is because in every poll and every focus group that's been done, the American people do not trust the controlled corporate media. They trust the alternative media a lot more. And so this is the beginning of the end for this military-industrial complex. They finally have gone from the previous mode of ignoring us and being full of hubris and calling us tinfoil hat wearers to now openly coming out and saying under the White House cybersecurity plan started by Bush, now being forced through Congress, now in the Senate by Barack Obama, that they will try to shut down the alternative media. You have Cass Sunstein at the White House coming out and writing policy papers on how they should arrest people that have, quote, conspiracy theories about 9/11, or at least license them or put a special tax on their speech. You have Reuters yesterday saying, well, they've made a change in the Senate version of the cybersecurity bill. The president can't just unilaterally shut the web off, end the internet if he wants. He has to appoint a council. He appoints a council of corporate chiefs who then make recommendations to him, but the final power lies with the president. Think about how far this country has gone, that the government and the corporate media are now so threatened by alternative information and citizen muckrakers that they are openly now sending up test trial balloons and beta testing the end of the free internet as we know it. They did not intend to do this at this stage. The white papers I've read, they plan to start curtailing the internet in the next 5 to 10 years. Now they're moving their game plan up because they are desperate and they realize that the people are listening. And it's happening because so many wonderfully prominent people have gone public for 9/11 Truth. Former German Defense Minister Andres von Bülow, with the number 3 in the current Japanese government's 9/11 Truther. I've interviewed him multiple times. He goes into the Diet and plays videos of Building 7 collapsing in their Congress, in their parliament. We have people like Dr. Bob Bowman, former head of the Star Wars program, and a highly decorated military veteran, a true person of conscience, who has been actively crisscrossing the United States and the world exposing 9/11 Truth, and thousands of other prominent people. But most importantly, millions and millions and millions of average people that understand the